Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video, I want to have a look at Algorand. Now first, I would like to apologize. I did say I'd try to get this video out before the end of the weekend, but it has just turned 10 minutes past 12 on a Monday morning for me, so unless you're in America, I won't be keeping my promise. Now I had recorded this video about 36 hours ago, Saturday morning, but I went back to see family, and the internet there was so poor that I couldn't upload the file. It kept failing and kept having to retry, and I just gave up, and I thought I'll come back home, I'll record a video that's more up to date and will be more revised because I will have already done it once, so I'll be more condensed with my info that I give. I also want to use this video to address a few questions that have been put in the comments, and whether it's been from the Cardano video or the Avalanche video, people have noticed that I've sort of compared this move here, this bowl movement that we've sort of seen, where we've come back to like half a year's ago level of resistance. I've compared this to back in 2020, just before when COVID hit, when we had a similar move for a similar length of time. Now I'm pretty sure this was about 180 days, 190 days, yeah, 180 days, whatever, that's not perfect. And then if we come from here, we're at 160 days, so technically we might have another 20 days of this to play out, if it's the exact same as it was last time, which I highly doubt. But basically a lot of you were asking in the comments, where do I think it will go? Do I think we'll see a rejection even if there is no black swan event like COVID? TLDR, yes, I do, but I don't think it will be as drastic as this. I think we will see a sell-off if we get rejected from this point. And there's another whole rabbit hole in itself. Do we get rejected from this bowl level? Only, we'll see over the next few weeks, probably. But if we do, I think we will break down. And I think we will not have as much of a big breakdown like before, and I'll explain that now. But, I can't explain it without sort of letting you guys know what's going on this chart. These orange lines here, this is the Bitcoin halving. This white box shows where we currently are, the length of time remaining until the Bitcoin halving. Again, it's a few months. I drew it here just to give you guys an idea of, if last cycle we took it exactly and cloned it, this is where we'd be, give or take. This red line shows where we got rejected on the bowl, where we, made our bowl, basically. This blue line shows the bottom of the bowl, the low we put in, during the time of the bowl, up to where we got rejected, or where we entered. They're the same thing. We can see this correlates to this blue down here. We've got our low, and this is where we sort of entered and potentially could be rejected. The yellow shows where we came down from our rejection to the lower low afterwards. And again, this same arrow correlates to this arrow here. And then the purple shows where we went from our low in the bowl to the low after the bowl, our lower low afterwards. Now, all of these lines correlate, but they're all showing different things, and the reason for that is, well, they're just, we've had a similar move play out, but the percentages are different. We can see here that this move up is about 77%, and this first one over here last cycle was 221%. Now, 221% is roughly 3 times 77%. If you want to do the maths, 70, 14, 70, 114, 210, and then plus 21, that brings us to 231. We're about 10% off, and accounting for human error and just variation with each market cycle, numbers aren't perfect. We can say that this is ultimately a third of what we had last cycle. So if you do the same with these values, you get 2 very different outputs. And even though here a 40% drop from the low is the same as an 80% drop from the high, these percentages, when you change them, will give different outputs, and they will not line up. Only for this situation will they line up. And we can see if we zoom in here and I make it more visible, we can see that, yeah, they don't add up. One of us gives us a value of 10 cents, and one of us gives us a value of 7 cents. And it kind of just, again, it comes down to what you believe. Do you think Algorand and other cryptos dropped 40% from their low, or did they drop 80% from their high? And yeah, like I said, it was the same thing over here. It is now no longer the same thing in this cycle. And I personally think we will see a move like this. Again, this is a third of all the moves, so 82% roughly becomes 27% of a move down. That's not quite big enough, but it kind of serves its purpose. It brings it down to 10 cents, below 10 cents. I think we'll most likely see this one. And this is just because, we don't have a COVID event level, hopefully, happening. But I do think we are due a pullback. We've seen before each halving, we have a pullback. And we do see as well that every 2 years in the crypto space, we have a rally. One of them is during the bull run, which is what we have here. And that's where we have a year of rallying, basically. And the other one is 2 years afterwards and 2 years before. And we just see a few months of rallying, very short-lived, and a decent move, but it's nothing compared to the bull run. But when we do have it, we do ultimately end the year higher than where it started. So started here and we ended higher up, even if it was a low at the time. Again, kind of not too important, but it does show that we do have these rallies, but they don't live long term during these second years. And again, there's a big if whether we even get rejected here. There's currently nothing stopping Algorand and the rest of the altcoin market breaking above this level. I mean, we might see the bowl happen here instead. It might play out here. Who knows? It's very difficult to say. And again, these things change. If you're assuming that it must play out like last year, you'll lose a lot of money. If you're putting money on these moves, saying, okay, well, we'll get rejected here. Now there is there's a chance that they do play out like this. And again, it's like you're an idiot if you don't look at previous performance of an asset. But that doesn't mean you should consider that gospel for the asset moving forward. I say this all the time. I know you already know this, but I'm saying it anyway. If we want to take a look at the time period factor of this, we can see that where we are currently now, we were only halfway through the bowl last cycle. And this kind of doesn't really mean anything. Again, all cycles are different, but this would kind of say that maybe the 4-year cycle is shrinking ever so slightly, or what happens in this next sort of time is unknown. What we can see though is usually after the halving again, altcoins usually do come up, even if they come back to test the lows they were at before the halving. Every altcoin that we've seen so far where we've looked at the halving and post-halving, the altcoin doesn't go back below the price it was at on the halving date, usually, or just afterwards. We can see here, halving, a few days afterwards, nothing happens, and then we get a secondary scare, which is very important because everyone just assumes after the halving, a lot of people go, oh, well, it's only up from the halving, so let me just long every crypto and, become a billionaire. But we usually have some sort of event that wrecks a lot of these long sellers just to, annoy everybody, basically. But again, that's kind of not too important. Getting into Algorand as well, as I am looking at the coin, I want to be a bit specific with Algorand. I'm kind of not really happy with what I see, to be honest with you. Now, I've heard many great things about Algorand. I spent a lot of time looking at it about a year ago, really considering whether I should get into it, but ultimately looking at the market, I didn't want to get into any crypto really, so I decided to wait off. But it was on my list for a long time, and it was something that I was looking at. But the more I look at the price of Algorand, the more it dissuades me from wanting to pick it up. Just because, not that I don't think it will perform well next bull run, I'm sure it will. And in fact, I'm sure it will perform much better than a lot of altcoins. If it returns to where it was last bull run, you're about, a 20x move away from that. Something, I'm not quite sure on the math, a 12x, something similar. But what dissuades me from Algorand is the fact that it never managed to break above its launch price. So it launched at $3.76, whatever it was, and it never came close to retesting that. In the peak of the bull run, Algorand came just below $3, which for me is very, very bearish, because if Algorand, now let me just set the scene here as well. This bull run was the best bull run cryptocurrency ever had, and I think personally ever will, because you had the fire combo, okay, of huge amounts of liquidity. Just every government basically went print mode and just started shitting out dollar notes. And the other thing was that everyone was stuck at home. Now this is like very different to all other bear markets and not bear markets, bull runs and quantitative easing, because like usually you have to have people are still working during this time. They're not spending all day on their phone. And also during this time, stocks blew up because people got bored at home and had so much money lying around that they wanted to put it somewhere. So they put it into stocks and crypto. So you had this perfect like combination of huge amounts of money and people really bored and stuck at home. So they're all putting it into crypto or stocks. So my point is, if Algorand cannot break above its launch price during the best bull run it will probably ever see, why should I expect it to perform decently? Not decently. Why should I expect it to come close to its last bull run? If it did, look, okay, let me just draw this, okay? We put in a lower low. Or we put in a low, sorry. We put in a high, a lower high. We put in a lower low. Algorand has recently put in a lower low. Its lowest. I mean, maybe we put in another high. Sure, but like, so far Algorand has just been giving us diminishing returns, basically. It hasn't been growing each bull run. It's kind of been shrinking, to be honest with you. This is what scares me about Algorand. Although I do not knock the project's fundamentals. I think it's very cool. I read not too long ago as well that they began sort of doing quantum computing like algorithms. So like quantum computers wouldn't be able to crack Algorand as easily. Like very interesting. And obviously the people working with Algorand are super smart. Gary Gensler was a shill for Algorand, you know? Gary Gensler literally hates all of crypto. I found that so funny. If you watch his MIT lectures on blockchains, funnily enough, he sort of shills out a bit for Algorand, and it comes up a couple of times. Still going off topic, just looking at price here, price fundamentals. Again, like markets repeat themselves, you know, oftentimes stuff does just play out very similarly. Same thing with here, like it has played out very similarly so far. There's a chance that we just go up from here. Like if you phase shift this low to sort of here and move the rest of the market with you, maybe this is what happens, you know, now, where instead of getting this big pullback, maybe we just have a decent wick down, like to 10 cents, and then we rally back up. But ultimately we do usually come down towards the halving as the halving draws closer. What's another sort of fly in the ointment here is that, again, like this time element, we've still got like 5 months left before the halving, whereas here we had like, you know, at the peak we had less than 3 months from the halving. So, you know, there's kind of like a, well, if we have a sell-off now, we might be rallying into the halving, and then it would be very weird for us to have a pullback after the halving as well as this and that. It would change up the cycle a bit. It would change up how things work. But ultimately, I don't think that will, like any big change up will happen. I think we'll have our retracement. We'll probably trade sideways or slowly go up. Like you can see here for the last month or so, however long this was, 2 months and a bit, like we put in the low and then Algorand bounced, and so did the rest of the crypto space. Like this chart, you know, you could take from, you know, 2020 to 2023, and it would almost represent any altcoin you look at. So again, just another spanner in the works. Now I will take a look at Algorand on its Bitcoin pair, but I haven't really done anything because I didn't really feel the need to. Again, it kind of reinforces my feeling of not trusting Algorand, because all it's ever done has gone down, especially on its Bitcoin pair. And like, again, we've gone to new all-time lows on its BTC pair, and like, this move has been great, but you know, it's been the last few weeks that Algorand has pumped, and it's only the last few days that we've seen any sort of decent move. And it's not even a decent move because we've come back up to the lows of where we were. And it just shows how poorly. I mean, I kind of don't really need to say anything here. Like, Algorand has just done poorly. Like, during the bull run, Algorand went up 400%-ish. 435%, give or take. And that's if you bought at one of the lowest points, which you didn't, and sold at the highest point, which you didn't, on its BTC pair. 400% against BTC during a bull run, during the alt season, when cryptos like Ethereum and Cardano went up like 30x. Huge amounts, crazy amounts, like unfathomable amounts. Sorry, that's on their USD pairs, but you know, on their Bitcoin pairs, they went up 10x. Huge, loads. Algorand did not do well. I mean, 400% is a great move in any asset class. If you hold something and it goes up 400% in a year, you've done extremely well, amazingly well, and you should pat yourself on the back for that. But for me, Algorand just doesn't cut it. If you're going to be risking your money, putting it into the crypto space, you would have made like it just doesn't do well with me. Again, if we like take a look at it on its USD pair again, like, the gains are good. Like it's good. It's 3,000%. But for an altcoin that is far down the risk curve, you could have made this money with ADA, and you wouldn't have had to have been so perfect with your timings either. I just for me, it's not worth it. It's too far down the risk curve, and it's shown worse results. Even if you get into it now, like, you know, like, you'll make a good return. I'm not, you know, if you believe in Algorand, go for it. But if it returns to just about its all-time highs, you're looking at a 1,500% move, which again is good. But there are altcoins that would be considered safer, hard air quotation marks there, and like, they're considered safer because they have bigger market caps and they have institutional investors, and they will potentially make you more money. Like, again, look, don't let me dissuade you. If you think Algorand is a good pickup, pick it up. I say this all the time. I get so much stuff wrong. Okay, this is just what I think personally. I will probably pick up a tiny bit of Algorand just because, you know, pick some up just in case it goes somewhere. I will, but whatever you want to do is up to you. I think I've just about talked about everything that I want to in this video. If you guys have any questions, or if I've forgotten to cover anything, it's a bit late and I'm a bit sleep deprived, so let me know, comment it down below, and I'll do my best to explain myself without the video aids. Take care, you guys. Thanks again for watching. Talk to you later. Peace.